Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm Jim Olson, Assistant Executive Director of the NTCA, and I want to thank you for attending today's webinar. The National Tile Contractors Association is excited to present today's webinar, Productivity by Speed and Safety. Our sponsor for this presentation is LATICRETE International. Before I introduce today's speaker, I need to remind you that during the webinar you will be muted. Please use the questions area on your computer to type in your questions, and we will answer those questions at the end of this presentation. If the audio on your computer is poor, call the number on the invite to this webinar to listen on your phone. All of our webinars are available to watch at any time on the NTCA YouTube channel shortly after the webinars are presented. Please go to the NTCA YouTube channel, subscribe, and you'll be notified of all upcoming NTCA videos, including all technical webinars, giving you easier access to watch all current and past programs at your convenience. All right, here we go. Today's speaker, Spencer Maheu, has worked in the construction industry for over 20 years in jobs ranging from framing and roofing on his father's construction crew as a teenager to developing power tool accessories, hand tools, and electric tools for the largest tool manufacturers in the world. He now is the Director of Product Management for LATICRETE International North America, focused on developing high-performing, innovative solutions that make installers' jobs faster and easier. During the last 3 years with LATICRETE, Spencer is passionate about installer health and safety and has made this a cornerstone of his team's focus. Welcome, Spencer. Look forward to your program.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate the introduction. Welcome, everybody. As Jim mentioned, my name is Spencer Maheu with LATICRETE International. And today, I'd like to go through some topics with you, stuff that is definitely very interesting to us and hopefully piques your interest as well, and stuff you can relate to. Installation in health and safety trends exploded into critical megatrends since the COVID pandemic hit. Doing more with less has never been more important, and the new normal requires new levels of efficiency and productivity that can only be achieved with focus on working smarter. And we're going to explore some construction industry health and safety statistics, traditional installation methods and countermeasures, and actions that can be taken to lessen the risks and impact on the installer in their business in the new work environment. So COVID has impacted us all, and it certainly has taken its toll on the construction industry. There were times when nearly the entire construction industry was shut down, and it's been a roller coaster ever since. There's been situations where we've had to, recover paused and restarted jobs. Dealing with postponed and canceled jobs has been a challenge. Managing job site occupancy so that there's not a high concentration of people on the jobs. Scheduling and split shifts has become a normal thing now for a lot of contractors and companies. And there's been a lot of lost time and productivity due to all the restrictions that have been put in place. And speaking of COVID, just as a public service announcement pretty much for the United States Department of Labor's OSHA, they suggest the following for construction job sites. And the more we can implement these things, the better we'll be until we all get, this immunity that we're trying to get right now. Screening all visitors in advance of their arrival on the job site for signs and symptoms of COVID-19. Adopt the staggered work schedule to maximize physical distancing. Identifying choke points where workers are forced to stand together, such as hallways, hoists, elevators, ingress and egress points, break areas and buses, and try to implement policies to maintain social distancing. Want to coordinate site deliveries in line with employers' contact and cleaning protocols. Delivery personnel should remain in their vehicles if possible. Institute a rigorous housekeeping program to reduce dust levels on the job site. Keep in-person meetings, including toolbox talks and safety meetings, as short as possible. Limit the number of workers in attendance and use social distancing practices. Ensure clean toilet and hand washing facilities, of course. Clean and disinfect portable job site toilets regularly. Fill hand sanitizer dispensers. Disinfect frequently the touched items, door pulls and toilet seats, etc. These things certainly have to continue and stress the installer's productivity without question. So with the job site dynamics being what they are now in the presence of COVID and the stresses it puts on the industry, it's critical to find solutions to maximize work output. There are some shorter term and job specific ways to do that, which I'll group under the work faster section of this presentation. But there's also a long game in output as well, which I'll group under work safer. This covers some of the most common pain points working against the installer having a long, productive career in this industry and working against companies' ability to have consistently productive teams. So both work faster and work safer are full ecosystems though. A complex network or interconnected system. We'll just be scratching the surface today. As you see with the image there, the proverbial tip of the iceberg, and covering the tip of the iceberg, so to say, on these topics. But to make strides for the industry and for ourselves, we need to start somewhere. The goal in here is to see how these actions can help maximize productivity and preserve a career. Then hopefully we can choose to take ownership in making some changes. And then once we do those things, we can start setting new standards for ourselves and help progress in industry. So now let's dig in and let's talk about work faster. One of the two major topics. There's so many ways to accomplish that, but I'll be talking a bit about how timing and scheduling can be impacted by leveraging a few alternative products and methods in tile and stone installations, walking through the potential products and steps from substrate through grout. First, in creating a solid substrate to work on, maybe you need to level the area. This is really common. So if so, you definitely need a primer, and you may even need to start with moisture mitigation depending on the moisture in the slab. So some of the options here. We have rapid curing moisture mitigations and primers that are available in the industry. These can cure in 2 to 3 hours versus 6 hours or more for typical standard products. There's also 2-in-1 products, which would be moisture mitigation and primer in one product. So instead of rolling out your moisture mitigation, waiting for that to cure, and then rolling out your primer over that and waiting for that to cure before you can get to your self-leveling, there are 2-in-1 products out there, which are the combination of both. It's a moisture mitigation and a primer in one. It requires a single application. It's a rapid cure. Some of them are rapid cure products ready for an SLU in 3 hours versus having to wait 10 hours plus in the 2 separate products. So definitely this can deliver faster turnaround and save hours, even days on installations. And then once you get past that point, if you need to self-level your job site, we move on to the self-leveling underlimits. We have rapid SLUs in the industry, which are walkable and tileable in 2 hours versus 4 to 6 or more for standard SLUs. And you can install moisture sensitive floor coverings in under 12 hours versus waiting 24. And also you can consider your methodology for getting the material onto the floor and consider pumping versus hand mixing and pouring, which can greatly improve output. To put it in perspective, small, medium pumps can more than double, even quadruple your output and get you 200 bags per hour as compared to a hand mixing and pouring application. And there are even some large pumps and mobile blending units in the industry that can get you rates up to 600 bags per hour. So a tremendous amount of options here to speed up the product itself and also speed up the delivery method of that product in the job site. Thick bed mortars. If there's a need for a thick bed mortar on the job site, there are, just like SLUs, there are rapid mortars that are walkable and tileable in as little as 1 hour versus the 12 hours that may be standard on the products that are being used today. And you can apply membranes in hours versus days later. So that definitely reduces a lot of the time that you have to wait here on this installation. There's also rapid waterproofing, which can be ready in as little as 30 to 60 minutes versus tileable in 30 to 60 minutes versus having to wait 12 to 24 hours, which is typical with standard mortar products. So again, a lot of fast speedy options here for this particular part of the construction process. And then moving on to membranes, sound control and anti-fracture. Roll membrane, like the sound control and anti-fracture membranes, you can set these with rapid curing adhesive mortars and tile on them with rapid curing adhesive mortars, which speed up the entire process. There's also multifunction products in this area. So they have mats that do sound control by themselves or anti-fracture by themselves. You can have roll membranes that do sound control and anti-fracture in one product, definitely lessening the time that you need to do the installation. And there's even at least one product out there that's a 3-in-1 product, which is an adhesive, sound control, and anti-fracture product all in one. It's a mixed product that's trialed out on a substrate, and it can achieve all 3 of those functions in one swoop. So this can save the installer tremendous time and dollars in the overall install. Adhesive mortars and grouts. There are a lot of rapid options here as well. There are rapid options that allow you to get to the next step of the installation and grout in as little as 2 hours versus waiting up to 24 hours. And once you get onto that next step, there are cementitious and epoxy grouts that allow you to get on them as soon as 3 to 6 hours versus waiting 24 hours. And one of the things that we've seen in the tile setting and grouting activities in the industry on jobs where the crew has been split into 2 shifts, that these rapid products have been really, really useful. They've been leveraging these solutions to be able to set tile in the first shift in the morning, for instance, and then come back in the afternoon and start grouting the same day versus waiting to the next day, which is what they typically may have done without the split shift schedule. So the split shift schedule has certainly adopted these rapid products a lot, but even without that split shift schedule, this can definitely speed up the job a lot for any installer. And then to cover the topics of shower systems, for anybody that does a lot of shower systems out in the marketplace, there are a ton of time-saving options for this area as well. So if you're creating shower pans, so for those creating shower pans with mortars, which we still believe is around 60% of the market of people that are creating shower pans and doing showers today, they're doing them with mortars. But you can definitely move your standard mortar over to a rapid mortar, and that's going to save you some time, shaving hours off the time that the bed is ready to work on. But for those who have not taken the step yet, we're all aware that there are preformed pans out there. You can get them with or without waterproofing, and times like these, it may be time to graduate from mortar beds to the preformed pans. They can definitely speed up the install a lot, even faster than a rapid mortar can. And then there are even some preformed pans that are pre-waterproofed and feature an integrated drain. So you essentially just drop the pan in, connect the drain, and go. This is the ultimate productivity play. But I know the pan isn't the only component of the shower. So there are options to speed up waterproofing of shower walls and getting onto flood testing as well. That can be considered. If you're waterproofing with sheet membrane, you should be waiting 24 hours to flood test, but you can speed that up with liquid applied waterproofing and get to 2 hours or even as little as 30 minutes with some products out there. And then for the walls, waterproof tile-ready board should be considered for the fastest enclosure possible. The only thing you have to do is treat the screw penetrations and seams with a liquid waterproofing to make it completely watertight. So shower systems in general, the absolute fastest shower area would be created leveraging these components and products. You'd have a preformed pan with waterproofing and the drain already installed, waterproof tile-ready board for your walls, and the seams and penetrations of the entire system sealed with liquid applied waterproofing. This is tremendously faster than the traditional, more old school way of doing a mortar bed, waterproofing it, waterproofing the walls all individually. This is the absolute fastest shower installation and will tremendously enhance the productivity in doing showers. So in summary, on work faster, there are lots of options to consider. And when used together, these options have lots of potential to deliver productivity, and these products and practices that lead to less man-hour congestion on job sites can reduce the odds of negative safety event occurring as well. So from substrate prep through grout, there are rapid products, there are multifunction products, and to illustrate the potential of these products together, take a look at this. Here are the working times of a full standard product system from prepping the substrate through grouting. This isn't application time. This is just the product curing and setting up enough to move on to the next step. So you're essentially waiting for the product in these bars of time here. You'd be looking at 72 hours of total time for the full standard system. Now, if you're able to go to a rapid system, even a full rapid system, these products would only need 16 hours total of curing and setting time. And while you may not select a full rapid system of products, any combination of rapid products in your mix can help expedite jobs faster and give more scheduling flexibility. And finally, as we covered in the previous slide, there are lots of options for shower systems, including options around making the pan construction a lot faster and waterproofing method. But no matter what you choose to do here with rapid products and faster methods, you can definitely do a lot to increase the flexibility you have on the job to react to things and get the job done faster, improving your productivity. Okay, so we've covered work faster now, but let's turn the focus to work safer. This one's quite different, actually. An impact is going to take a real commitment. This drives productivity and output consistency over the long term and leads to a happier, healthier crew. It starts with raising awareness of the common sources of pain and injury through knowledge and education. The company setting expectations and committing to sponsoring change and improvements. Once these have happened, individual ownership and accountability is a must to execute the improvements or the vision that's been laid out. Strides here can minimize lost work days due to health and injury, lost productivity and profit for the company and or for the individual. And it really is going to come from a combination of protection, process, and product opportunities that need to be seized upon. In 2019, the Bureau of Labor Statistics calculated over 80,000 lost time incidents that range from days to weeks to months and even longer. So the accumulation of days lost is in the hundreds and hundreds of thousands. An incredible amount of lost revenue and opportunities come out of this. So there are many sources of lost time, poor health, and short careers in construction, but we're going to focus on a few critical ones. Musculoskeletal injuries, eye injuries, and respiratory illnesses. These are three big sections and big contributors to lost time incidents. So first, let's look at knee injuries at work, something that a lot of us are familiar with that have worked in construction. And what's the causation? So activities that involve frequent stooping, kneeling, or squatting put your knees at risk for injury. Kneeling or squatting repetitively or for long periods. Contact stress. As we know, the people in our industry are down on the ground level a lot doing things. Some of the facts in the industry is that 8,000 lost time incidents annually are attributed to knee issues. And the median days of lost time for a knee injury is about 14. So it's definitely not a minor disruption in a professional's life, and the potential impact on a business is real. So now we move on to prevention. What can we do? So PPE is a must. Knee pads, kneeling mats, anything that minimizes or reduces the contact stress. This is so important. The protection is out there. We just have to make sure that everybody's using it, because the knee problems are so bad in the industry for people that are setting tile and stone. Material handling is a huge opportunity Quite often it's a missed opportunity for us, even if we are using PPE and we do have knee pads. There are lightweight products out there. There are mortars that are half the weight of a standard mortar with the same coverage. There are foam backer boards that weigh 1/10 of what cement backer boards do. So that's so much less stress on the body. People need to get educated on proper bending and lifting techniques, and definitely seek help lifting more than 50 pounds. Use carts to move materials, store, stage, and work elevated whenever possible. And automation and faster alternative solutions. So a pump system is definitely an example of that. Rather than mixing bags of mortar and walking back and forth for a self-leveler, is this something where a pump could be implemented on the job to make sure that that activity is isolated to one particular area and there's not a lot of transportation of material that has to happen. Also, the cool thing about all of these things is that they're all within our control as installers. And then continuing on with more considerations all within our control. Good shoes and or insoles are important for support and stability and cushion. We work on hard surfaces. This is something that we definitely have to invest in. Whenever possible, make the environment that you're working in as clean and dry as possible, and make sure that obstacles are cleared or flagged. A lot of knee injuries are caused by tripping and slipping on things. So it's definitely something that we have to pay close attention to. And then body maintenance is something that can't be ignored. Strengthening and stretching muscles is so important. Do some exercises. If your knee pain is due to an injury, surgery, or arthritis, gentle stretching and strengthening exercises may help ease the pain while also improving the flexibility and range of motion. Exercising a knee that's injured or arthritic may seem counterintuitive, but in fact, it's actually better than keeping it still. Not moving it can cause it to stiffen, and this may worsen the pain and make it harder to go about your daily activities and certainly harder to go about your job activities. And also, we have to look at weight management. This is really impactful on knees. The continuous compression on the joint and the risk of injury in compromised positions is exponentially increased when we're holding excess body weight. So these things are all preventative measures, all very much within our control that we can start doing on job sites as individuals and promoting as companies. Next one I'll move to is back injuries. So causation for back injuries. Lifting heavy objects, obviously. Bending and twisting or reaching when carrying heavy objects is another one. Incorrect posture, long hours and repetitive tasks. Long hours, how does that contribute? It's not just, working long hours is tiring, but what happens when you work long hours, you get a little bit exhausted and tired. You end up, your form starts to break down. You start being a little bit less aware of what's going on around you, and certainly that can lead to back injuries as well. Some of the facts here are pretty crazy. So over 1 million back injuries are sustained in the workplace annually, and back pain accounts for more than 264 million lost work days in 1 year. Americans spend at least $50 billion annually on treating back pain, and the construction industry has one of the highest incident rates of any industry. The Center for Construction Research and Training says the construction industry has the highest incident rate of back injuries of any industry except transportation. Of all the construction-related injuries that occur each year, 25% of them are back injuries. And almost a third of construction workers report that they have missed work because of back injuries. Another crazy fact is only the common cold accounts for more lost days of work over back injuries. So let's take a look at back injuries at work. What can we do? So prevention is a similar story to knee injury prevention. It comes down to material handling, lightweight products. Again, there are lightweight mortars out there. There are a lot of lightweight products, lightweight backer boards, a lot of stuff out there. Picking these lightweight products to use on the job site may sound like it's not that impactful. You can carry a board or you can carry a 50-pound bag of mortar from point A to point B and not get injured. But when you're doing that hundreds of times and thousands of times over a career, these things build up. And it's really important to try to start migrating towards lightweight products, because these things are going to be able, your body's going to be able to withstand the day in, day out abuse that your body takes carrying those heavier products. And then again, similar to knees, proper lifting techniques help lifting over 50 pounds, using equipment to move materials, store, stage, and work on things at an elevated level, waist high, so that you don't have to bend down to do certain things. Automation and faster alternative solutions are definitely things to consider here as well. And then again, on prevention, comes down to the human body. The number one most controllable factor in back issues is weight management. Overweight people have more back problems. No matter what your weight is, though, it's really important to stretch and strengthen your back. Even if going to the gym is not an option, there are plenty of very effective things that can be done at home that take very little time. And taking micro breaks on the job to stretch and relax the muscles is very helpful too. But at the end of the day, find what works for you and commit to doing it. You will get out of it what you put into it. Now moving from musculoskeletal injuries and conditions onto eye injuries. So from a causation standpoint, projectile nails, tiny pieces of metal, splinters, cut wire ends, these are all common dangers, as well as the dust and debris caused by cement or mortar mixing, sawing, grinding, chipping, all that stuff. The primary culprit for all these eye injuries, though, is not wearing eye protection or wearing the wrong kind of eye protection for the job. Some facts on this. OSHA estimates that workplace eye injuries cost $300 million a year in lost productivity for companies, medical treatment, and worker compensation. And construction has a much higher rate than any other industry. Each day, about 2,000 US workers sustain job-related eye injury that requires medical treatment. About 1/3 of the industries are treated in hospital emergency departments, and 1 in 10 result in 1 or more days missed from work. And this is the scary one. 10 to 20% of these workplace eye injuries will cause temporary or even permanent vision loss, which is just crazy to imagine that. So eye injuries at work, let's talk about prevention. This is a big one. So again, regarding prevention, most of this is within our control. Talking about PPE. Of the 300,000 workplace eye injuries suffered annually, it's estimated that 90% of them were preventable if workers had been wearing appropriate eye protection. That equates to 270,000 workplace eye injuries annually that could be avoided. Things like safety glasses, safety goggles, face shields, full face respirators, these are all things to consider, and it depends on what kind of job you're doing in your environment. Tool guards and shielding, make sure that it's clean and clear and operational. These guards are designed to prevent chips from flying back to the user, to the person handling the tool. So make sure that they're fully operational and in place. And then dust collection, this is a big one. A lot of people don't connect dust to eye injuries, but it is a huge contributing factor. When the dust gets into your eye, it starts to scratch it, and it can deteriorate your vision and cause a lot of different situations. So whether you have an integrated dust collection in your tool, or you can retrofit it, there's some equipment out there that you can retrofit tools with to vacuum away, to suck away the dust that's being created by the cutting operation. Anything that can be done there is going to be tremendously helpful. And don't forget, while working and you're in a dusty environment, brush, shake, or vacuum dust and debris away from hard hats, hair, your forehead, or the top of eye protection before removing the protector. Otherwise, that stuff could end up in your eye. Avoid rubbing eyes with dirty hands or clothing even. Clean eyewear regularly and ensure the protector is in good condition. Ensure eye protection fits properly and will stay in place. And then one of the things I wanted to talk to you a little bit about is this ANSI Z87 standard. So protective eyewear is designed to comply with the regulations of OSHA to avoid specific eye dangers like high impacts, excess heat, smoke, dust, and chemicals. The NCZ87 rating creates a uniform testing standard of eye protection and helps hold all the manufacturers accountable for the level of safety they deliver in their products. The Z87 rating was created to help develop a certification system for safety eyewear based on specific hazards encountered in the workplace. Things like impact, heat, chemicals or liquid splash, even dust, and even radiation. Z87 or Z87 Plus is the ANSI standard for impact, which helps ensure safety eyewear provides workers with the needed protection from impact hazards. For safety eyewear to pass the basic Z87 standard, it must pass the ball drop test. This test involves a steel ball that's 1 inch in diameter and weighs about 2.5 ounces, about 2.5 ounces, and being dropped from a test height of around 50 inches. For the eyewear to pass, the lens and frames must remain intact. Well, what about when there's a plus next to the Z87 marking and it's a Z87 plus rating? This simply means that the eyewear meets a higher impact standard and goes through a much tougher set of tests than Z87. It will provide a better protection. The Z87 plus rating means the protection passes both the high mass impact test and the high velocity impact test, which the high velocity test is pretty crazy. The high velocity test involves a 1/4 inch steel ball being shot at 20 different specified impact points, and the speed and distance or velocity of the ball varies depending on the type of safety eyewear. So for safety glasses, the ball is shot at a speed of 102 miles an hour. For safety goggles, the steel ball is shot at a speed of 170 miles an hour. So these are very, very robust eye protection options. And there's a subset of the Z87 rating not related to impact protection, is the ANSI Z87.1 requirement for droplet or splash and dust protection. And eye protection that passes this criteria will be marked with a code that begins with the letter D. Eye protection that provides protection from droplets and splashes are marked with D3. Eye protection that provides general dust protection are labeled with D4. And then eye protection that provides fine dust protection is labeled with D5. So that's just an overview of this important eyewear protection rating. And I would suggest installers, companies, they evaluate the range of their work environments on impact and dust, especially, and choose the protection that will cover them in the worst conditions they encounter. Okay, so now we'll transition to some respiratory exposures, and the one I'll cover first is volatile organic compounds, which is most commonly and certainly more easily referred to as VOCs. So what are VOCs? VOCs are basically organic chemical compounds that evaporate easily at room temperature. Some of the health hazards of VOCs range from very uncomfortable and temporary to long-term and life-threatening. VOC exposure is linked to eye, nose, and throat irritation, chronic headaches and nausea, loss of coordination, liver, kidney, and central nervous system damage, and they can even increase the chances of developing cancer. So these are all really scary and hazardous conditions here that we obviously all want to try to avoid. Some of the sources of VOCs, they're found in materials that are very familiar to our industry, the construction industry and installation. They can be found in building materials like paint and paint strippers, coatings, caulks and sealants, adhesives, cleaning supplies, even flooring, carpet, and presswood products omit VOCs. So with such a presence and risk in our industry, here are some preventative measures to help lessen the risk of exposure. First and foremost, just know your products. Use products that are low VOC. It's pretty simple. You look for low VOC information on the label in the data sheet, or if there's a Green Guard certification on the product, this is a good indication that it's a low VOC product. Ventilate workspaces. Open windows and circulate air with fans or forced air heating and or cooling system. Keep workspaces, temperature and humidity low whenever possible, since some VOCs will become more volatile when it's warm or damp. let new building products air outside to release VOCs before installing them. You can actually do that, leaving a carpet or flooring or whatever outside for a little while before you install it. After it's outside of the package or the wrapping, will help dissipate some of the VOCs before you go to install it. And use a respirator mask designed to filter out VOCs if the above options or materials are not available or possible. So moving on from VOCs, the next respiratory threat to our industry is one that has had plenty of buzz in OSHA regulations inspired by it over the last few years. We're all pretty familiar with it. This threat is respirable crystalline silica. So what is respirable crystalline silica? So crystalline silica, before it becomes respirable, is a common mineral found in the Earth's crust. Materials like sand, stone, concrete, and mortar contain crystalline silica. It's also used to make products such as glass, pottery, ceramics, bricks, artificial stone, and the like. Respirable, when it becomes respirable, crystalline silica, very small particles, at least 100 times smaller than ordinary sand you might find on beaches or playgrounds. It's created when cutting, sawing, grinding, drilling, or crushing of stone, rock, concrete, brick, block, and mortar. Activities such as abrasive blasting with sand, sawing brick or concrete, sanding or drilling into concrete walls, grinding mortar, manufacturing brick, concrete blocks, stone countertops, or doing anything with ceramic products, cutting or drilling into those, and cutting or crushing stone result in worker exposures to respirable crystalline silica dust. And it's estimated about 2.3 million people in the US are exposed to silica at work to some degree. It comes with a lot of health hazards, obviously. Silicosis. Now, silicosis is a really bad one. Over 200 people each year in the US die. They actually die from silicosis. That's crazy. It's linked to lung cancer. It's linked to COPD, kidney disease, and autoimmune diseases. They're all risk factors as well. So we talked about some of the sources we've already discussed, you know, in the mixing or processing of materials common to installers. But to go through them again, building materials, quartz, ceramic, granite, these are things we're not unfamiliar with in the installation, tile and stone installation industry and construction in general. Sand, concrete, masonry, adhesives, and stones. Preventative measures, again, just like with VOCs, know your products. It's so important to know your products. Use products that are not formulated with sand, and they will state that they test below the detectable limits of respirable crystalline silica. Some things you can do on the job site is isolating workers from exposure with enclosures or barriers, installing local exhaust ventilation systems, using wet methods for cutting, drilling, sawing, grinding, etc. Using HEPA-equipped vacuums or wet sweeping for cleaning applications. Not using compressed air for cleaning applications. We don't want to get that dust back in the air. And using tools with dust collection systems is all very important to do in order to minimize the exposure and risk of respirable crystalline silica. So with that, I'll conclude the presentation today, and I hope that you can see some clear paths to higher productivity and ability to adjust to whatever your work environment throws at you, and keeping yourself and your job site teams healthier and happier and enjoying productive and satisfying careers. But I said in the beginning, and I'll say it again now, the idea of working faster and working safer are both ecosystems that you can take as far as you are willing and able to do. I just highlighted the tip of the iceberg concepts today, but opportunities run much deeper than this. First, I suggest becoming a student of researching alternatives. Research product alternatives. Find faster ones that get you onto the next step of the process faster and get you out of compromising positions and reduce repetition. Try them out to see if it's something you can work with more often than not. Look for lighter products that are easier to handle, products that are low VOC, and products that are formulated without silica sand. These products are out there to cover just about every application you encounter. You just have to go out, find them, give them a try, see if they work for you, and then figure out how to implement them into your material plan. And then On the safety side, pick something that can help you or your employees prevent injuries, something manageable, and do that thing until it becomes habit and the only way you do it. And then expand into something else. This is iterative. You can try to do all kinds of things at once, but that certainly would be more disruptive and tougher to train, track, and monitor all these things at once. Continuous improvement, continuous progression is the way each individual can collectively contribute to the advancement of this industry and the improvement of health and happiness of people in construction trades. And the great thing is that the vast majority of all this stuff I've covered today is completely within our control and just requires commitment. And with that, I'll say thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure to go through this information with you.
Spencer, thank you. What a great presentation. Very relevant for what's going on in our world right now. Not that it hasn't been relevant forever, to be honest with you, but great information. I don't even think there's anything anyone will question on this. What you put here today is something I can't wait to get it up on our YouTube channel and make sure everybody can review it and share it with all of their employees and their coworkers, and just make sure people are being safe and doing the job in the best way possible and making money. So we got one here. We do have a question. Here we go, Spencer.
Right.
All right, so what about repetitive motion injuries? How can you prevent those?
Yeah, so I mean, there are definitely product options out there that can lessen that. It depends on what the repetitive motion is, obviously, but when we talk about some of the 2-in-1 and 3-in-1 kind of multi-function products that are doing a couple of different jobs at once, those are ones that can definitely lessen the overall motions that it takes to do an installation. So if you have a product that is both sound control and crack isolation at the same time, you don't have to do those things separately. If you have one that's an adhesive, crack isolation, and sound control all at the same time, you're doing one installation with one product, and it definitely lessens the repetitive motions. But in general, lessening the impact on things where you don't have a multifunction product as an option comes down to proper body position and techniques when you're doing it. A lot of times, and I just did a bathroom installation, a shower installation, excuse me, last weekend, and I found myself just out of position without thinking about it, and then realizing that something was hurting, and I'd have to just reposition myself to get my arm and shoulder into the right position where I was troweling things out, and it was less stressful on these vulnerable joints. And so a lot of times when a multifunction product is not available, you have to look at your body position and how comfortable you are. And there's a lot of guidance that's out there that can tell you, what the proper positioning are for different types of activities, whether it's on the floor, that you're doing something on the wall, and there's even equipment that can help make those go a little bit more smoothly as well.
The same gentleman said troweling mortar for decades has bad elbow, wrist, thumb, etc. So
I tell you, I mean, like I said, I did the shower installation last weekend, and I do these things few and far between. Not very often for sure, but my back hurt after this installation last weekend, and I was thinking to myself, this was a 2-day installation. I can't imagine doing this day in and day out, and I'm in relatively good shape too, and I just can't imagine doing this day in and day out, and it's got to be such a major toll on the people in this industry. So we really have to work hard to get safer alternatives for these folks, so that they don't have to work in pain all the time. Something like, I think there was a survey done where it said that something like 40% of the construction industry workers and installers say that they work in pain on a daily basis from something on their body, and that is just outrageous that your profession has to cause that.
So this goes right along with that. With LATICRETE, do you know of any companies that promote good health by providing exercise options, or have an exercise period before they start working or during the day, anything like that, or team building through exercise?
We're talking about installation companies, construction companies?
Yeah, construction companies.
I'm not aware of any of them specifically, but I have heard of some implementing some of that, and I could definitely follow up on that question, but I'm not sure specifically of any that do that. But I do know that there are some companies out there that are, adopting a warm up and a cool down kind of session in their workday, and it certainly is something that I would imagine is going to be paying dividends over the long term.
I think NTCA needs to look into that, and I think that would be great. All right, here's another question. So, oh, I just deleted it. Dang. Something about air. If whoever that was that talked about air could put that question in, that'd be great. All right, here's one. Changing hands from left to right will minimize the arm and elbow injuries. The practice of changing hands takes time to adjust to, but when you do it, it feels natural. What a great suggestion.
It is, and I was finding myself doing that last weekend again. This is the most recent installation I did, and I was finding myself switching hands, and it was interesting. I found the most challenging part of that, not actually troweling the material, but scooping it out of the container in order to trowel it, and keeping it on the trowel I found to be more challenging. Once I got it up on the wall, I was fine, but it's interesting. Yeah, ambidextrous definitely is helpful.
That makes sense. So Nicholas Wheatley came back and redid his question. So air scrubbers, are they worth it? Will they affect the PPP in the air?
That is a good question that I don't know the answer to. I would have to look into that one. That's a new one for me.
All right, I'll tell you what, Nicholas, we'll try and get something, put it out to you, see what we can get. We want to try and answer that for you. Another comment was make sure you stretch and flex. That helps a lot, which you mentioned in your presentation. I agree with that. And last but not least, let's see, it may not be last but not least. He talked the air scrubbers. Someone said they're getting much better. The older one's not very good. So there's a comment from another participant here on air scrubbers.
That's great. I'm going to have to take a look into that and get some information on that.
Well, here's a comment that I agree with. Great presentation. And I think this is, I want to make sure everyone knows this will be up on our YouTube channel Tuesday. Please take the time to share it with everybody you know. It's very important. Thank you. Thank you, Spencer. I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Fantastic, really just fantastic program. So we'll have another webinar coming up on, I believe, what day is it? The 16th, I think. Excuse me, I've got it right here. Sorry about that. Our next presentation will be coming up on the 16th of February from Fila, and please look forward to that. Your invites will be coming soon. Spencer, keep in touch. Send me your PowerPoint. This was fantastic. Thank you.
Will do. Thank you.
Hey, you still there?
Yes, I am. Yes, sir.
We got some more questions that just came in, so I want to just, if people are still here, so a lot of them are comments, great information. Thank you, well done, thank you, Jim and Spencer, well done. I learned a lot, so I wanted you to hear that. All right, everybody, thank you. Bye, Spencer.
Thank you. Bye-bye.